I cut the engine and just stared because overnight my family's island had turned into a beige little suburb. 50 cookie-cutter houses sat on a hillside that used to be pine and rock, and a brand-new strip of asphalt ran right through the middle like a scar. Then a woman in oversized sunglasses pointed at me and said, "Sir, you're trespassing on Homeowners Association property." My name's Ethan Cole, and Graywood Isle isn't some investment opportunity to me. It's where my dad taught me to set crab pots, where I learned which parts of the shoreline bite back at low tide, where the old dock boards still creak in the exact spots I remember. So when I saw vinyl siding flashing through the trees, I honestly thought my eyes were messing with me. I killed the motor, let the boat drift, and listened to the water slap the hull like the island was trying to tell me, yeah, something's wrong. I tied off at my own dock, climbed up the muddy bank, and there it was. A big, polished sign staked into the ground like a flag, Seabreeze Landing. Under it, smaller text about covenants and community standards, the kind of stuff you see in gated neighborhoods on the mainland, not on an island that doesn't even have a mailbox. A guy in a tight polo jogged over, holding a clipboard like it was a badge. "Hey, sorry, sir," he said, smile locked in place. "This is a sales site. You can't be here without an appointment." I looked past him at the houses, same roof line, same tiny porches, same fake shutters. "I live here," I said. "What is this?" He blinked like that sentence didn't compute. "I'm Logan Pierce, community manager. This is Seabreeze Landing, managed under HOA guidelines." HOA, I repeated, tasting it like something rotten. "On my island." Logan's smile thinned. "The island was purchased by North Shore Acquisitions 6 months ago. Everything is filed with the county." That's when she came out. Deborah Hart. Short bob haircut, pearl studs, that confident walk like she owned air. She didn't ask who I was or why I was there. She just looked at my boat, my boots, my hoodie, and decided the whole scene offended her. "You have 30 seconds to leave," she said, calm voice, sharp edges. "You're trespassing." I laughed once, because what else do you do when someone tells you you're trespassing on your own land? "Ma'am, I'm Ethan Cole. This is Graywood Isle. It's been in my family for generations." Deborah tilted her head like she was dealing with a rude cashier. "That's not what our documents say." 2 security guys rolled up in a golf cart behind her, both wearing black earpieces, both staring at me like I was the problem. Logan's pen hovered over his clipboard, ready to write up my existence as a violation. I felt the anger rise, first hot, stupid loud, then the hurt slid in under it, colder and heavier, because they weren't just building houses, they were building a story where I didn't belong. I walked back to my cabin and pulled the firebox out from under the bed. Inside were my deed papers, old surveys, maps my dad had marked by hand, and a stack of receipts for property taxes going back years. I spread them on the kitchen table like I was laying out a body. Everything I had said Graywood Isle. Everything said Cole. So why was a homeowners association acting like I was some random guy who wandered in from the wrong side of town? The next morning they escalated fast. A fresh sign appeared near my dock: private HOA property. Unauthorized vessels will be towed. "Tow me," from my own dock. I marched up to the community office, which was basically a fancy trailer with fake stone siding and a ring camera aimed at the entrance. Deborah was waiting like she'd been expecting me, arms folded, lips tight. "You can't keep putting signs on my land," I said. "I have the deed." Deborah didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. "Your paperwork is outdated. Our attorneys have confirmed the purchase. If you keep interfering with sales operations, we will fine you." "Fine me," I snapped, "for walking on my own island." Logan stepped in with that corporate calm. "It's in the CC&Rs. Interference with community operations carries daily penalties." He actually said CC&Rs out loud like it meant something to me, like it was magic. They weren't just lording power over me, they were wrapping it in paperwork so clean it looked legitimate. And that's the part that messes with your head. I called the local police from my boat right there on the water because I didn't trust leaving the island. The dispatcher was nice, but the answer was basically, "This is a civil dispute. You need a lawyer." "A lawyer? Great. Because I'm out here counting tide charts and crab pots, and they're out here printing fines and threatening injunctions." Then I saw the ferry, a white little shuttle boat, new paint running back and forth like it owned the channel, bringing in prospective owners, construction guys, supplies. They'd built a new dock on the far side of the bay, And it wasn't some rough work dock either. It had railings, fresh lumber, and a neat little sign that said, "Visitors check in." I watched strangers step onto my island holding brochures like they were touring a theme park. I heard Deborah laughing with a couple in clean sneakers, telling them about exclusive waterfront living. I wanted to scream. Instead, I took photos, I filmed, I wrote down times, I started treating my own life like evidence. A week in, Logan handed me an envelope. From counsel, he said, like he was doing me a favor. It was a cease and desist letter, a whole page of cold legal language telling me to stop harassing residents, stop obstructing access, stop defaming the community. It threatened fines, court orders, criminal charges. I sat at my kitchen table that night with the letter in one hand and my deed in the other, and for the first time I felt something I didn't want to admit: exhaustion. Not dramatic, not poetic. Just the plain, ugly truth that money and lawyers can bend reality if you let them. I stared at the paperwork and thought, maybe there's some filing I missed. Maybe the county screwed something up and they took advantage. Maybe I'm about to spend years fighting a machine that doesn't care if I'm right. And for a minute, I considered walking away. Not because I believed them, because I didn't know how to outlast them. Then the island gave me two things: a memory and a witness. The memory hit when I walked the eastern shore at low tide and found an old survey marker, rusted rebar, half buried in sand. My dad had pointed it out years ago, tapping it with his boot like it was sacred. This is the line he'd said, "Remember it." The witness showed up on my phone an hour later. Caleb Morgan, an old fisherman from across the channel, texted me a shaky video. Ethan, his message read, "You need to see this." I played it and my stomach dropped. It was night footage from his boat, grainy, but clear enough. One of Seabreeze Landing's service areas had a hose running toward the water. You could see liquid dumping into the bay, turning the surface cloudy in the beam of his flashlight. That wasn't paperwork. That wasn't civil. That was real. I didn't call the local station again. I called the State Police Marine Unit and then the Department of Environmental Protection. I kept my voice level because I knew how this works. Panic gets dismissed, details get attention. "I'm the deeded owner of Graywood Isle," I said. "A development called Seabreeze Landing has constructed roughly 50 homes a dock and is running a ferry service. I have reason to believe the land transfer is fraudulent, and I have video evidence of improper discharge into protected waters." There was a pause on the line, the kind where someone sits up straighter. Then the officer asked, "Can you send what you have right now?" I emailed everything. Deed, surveys, photos, ferry schedule, the video. And suddenly I wasn't shouting into the wind anymore. I had people on the other end of the line who sounded interested. 3 hours later, the water off my dock lit up with flashing lights. A patrol boat, a couple of smaller units, DEP vehicles on the mainland side getting loaded onto boats. It wasn't a movie scene, no dramatic soundtrack, no speeches, just professionals showing up with clipboards that actually meant something. Deborah tried to meet them at the community entrance like she was hosting a ribbon cutting. She had that same calm expression, like the island was a conference room she controlled. "This is a misunderstanding," she said smoothly. "We have all permits on file. This gentleman is a disgruntled local." The lead officer didn't even let her finish. "Ma'am, I need your permits for the dock. The wastewater systems and documentation for the ferry operation." Logan stepped forward, sweating now. "Our attorneys, maintain the documents off-site." The officer nodded once, unimpressed. "Then we'll contact them. Until then, construction is paused, access is restricted, and this area is being inspected for environmental violations." You could feel the air change. People who'd been walking around with sales brochures started backing away. A couple prospective owners asked questions Deborah couldn't answer. The security guys suddenly looked like they wished they worked literally anywhere else. DEP personnel headed straight for the service area Caleb filmed. One of them crouched near the shoreline, took samples, spoke into a radio. Coast Guard checked the ferry's paperwork. The Marine unit photographed the dock. Deborah's face tightened. Her voice jumped an octave. "You can't just shut down a community. This is private HOA property." The officer looked her dead in the eye. "Property disputes are one thing. Environmental discharge and unauthorized construction are another. Step aside." Deborah turned to me like I'd betrayed humanity. "Are you happy now?" she snapped. "You're ruining people's dreams." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "No," I said. You built a dream on stolen ground. A few minutes later, the officer came back with a different tone, the one that lands like a weight. The acquisition company appears to be a shell, she said. We have enough irregularities to treat this as a criminal investigation. And if these discharge tests come back the way I expect, it's going to get worse. Deborah tried to argue, but her words started tripping over each other. Logan stared at the ground. The security guys stepped back like they didn't know her anymore. And then the officer told Deborah she needed to leave the site pending investigation. It wasn't dramatic. It was final. Deborah's mouth opened like she was about to demand to speak to someone's manager. Then she remembered she wasn't the manager here. She was just a woman in sunglasses standing on land that wasn't hers. As she was escorted toward the dock, I walked over to that big Sea Breeze landing sign. I grabbed the post with both hands, dug my boots into the dirt, and pulled until the wood splintered and the whole thing came up with a sucking sound. I didn't say a word. I just dropped it on the ground right where they'd planted it like a claim. Because some people only understand one lesson: your paperwork doesn't mean a thing when the truth finally shows up with lights on the water. Lesson: if someone tries to take your ground with rules and a smile, document everything and hit them where reality can't be papered over.